I have literally just built a fully autonomous publishing machine, an agent that works all of the time, every single morning at 8 a.m., waking up, publishing SEO-dense, GEO-optimized articles to my blog page every single day. This is fully autonomous, agentic site building. This shit gets me so flippin' excited. So if you followed along for part 1, you're going to love part 2. This is where we go into full auto mode. So we're going to be breaking this down super simply, step by step. And also I've got some cool stuff that I'm going to show you later on that's going to make this even more seamless for you. Now, in the first part of this series, we broke down the design. We created our beautiful front-end website, which ultimately eliminates AI slop from our vocabulary entirely. Right? So today, what we're going to be doing is building in the agentic layer. We're going to be building in the autonomous publishing of SEO-rich, dynamic content every single day on autopilot without us having to lift a finger, right? So that is the plan. Let's go. Now, the star of the show last week was this site, right? So we've got all of our different pages hooked up. We've got our About Us page, all right? So that's looking good. We've got our services page with all of our different offers, for example. And then we've got our blog page, okay? Now, the blog page is going to be the star of the show today because this is where we're hosting all of our SEO content. Now, this is also the first agent I'm going to show you how to build, the first of many that we're going to be tackling in this series. So you can see if I click inside, we've got our blogs optimized, etc., etc. Everything's linking and looking nice. So you might be thinking, how the heck are we actually publishing stuff here? So I just want to show you how this works as a system. All right, so the front end is where all of your pages live, and this is ultimately your site's domain. Now, the front end is connected to the back end where we have our operating system. This is where we manage our content, our leads, our emails, our analytics, our agents, etc. And they share a database via Supabase. Okay, so all of your content, your brand context, your SEO optimization, your keywords, all of that good stuff is on the shared Supabase database. That means anything you do on the back end is published to the database, which then updates on the front end. Okay, so that's fairly simple. Now, the cool thing about this is that this is what really gives you digital sovereignty, because Supabase and the shared database is something that you ultimately own and you control your own data. Now, in regards to how we have fully autonomous publishing and creation is we use GitHub Actions, right? So this is baked into the source code inside of the GitHub project. Okay, so you will be able to set this up fairly easily. But what GitHub Actions allows us to do is that we set up a specific action, such as write a daily article, for example, which is set on a timer to go out every day at 8 a.m., whatever time you want, at whatever volume you want. So what GitHub Actions does is it sets up a call which looks at the back end and it checks if you have any approved articles ready to write. It will then take that topic from that article and then start writing it. It'll trigger your own API on the back end, which calls on Claude Sonnet 4.6. Claude then goes out, writes the article, uploads it to the shared database, which then pops up on the front end, and it just feels like magic. Now, the reason we're using GitHub Actions is because if you were using Claude Cowork or Claude Scheduled Tasks, right now, you would have to have your desktop open all of the time. Okay, which is just not feasible. We want this to work all of the time. Okay, so that's what GitHub Actions allows us to do. Now, anytime we make changes to the back end or the front end, these code bases are stored on our own GitHub for version control, which is what you will be able to do when you copy these. And then they're connected to Cloudflare for hosting. All right, so every time we update one of these, the GitHub is updated and then things are pushed to Cloudflare, which is where we host our domains. It's where we can do A/B testing. It's where we can check out analytics, etc., etc. So I've really enjoyed using Cloudflare. I think it's flipping amazing. I feel like it's really optimized for the new AI era really well. Okay, so this is the system as a whole, and GitHub Actions is what's running the different automations, such as writing daily articles and also doing weekly trend scans. Okay, so you're going to be able to get this when you copy our GitHub repo and get this project set up for yourself. All of the instructions are set up inside of the Claude.md files for both the front end and the back end. So what we've created is a full-on dashboard so you can start feeling like Tony Stark when you're delivering SEO gold to your own brand or your clients. Okay, that's kind of what I wanted to do. And so right now you can see our content publishing pipeline and our Kanban board. The reason we have used a Kanban board, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Palantir, the big AI company that is now powering the US government, etc., etc. They are using Kanban boards to literally automate war. Okay, so there was this video I saw the other day which was flipping nuts, but they were basically using a Kanban board to automate dropping missiles. Now, I know that's a terrible subject and a touchy subject to bring up, but Kanban boards, if Palantir use them from a UX perspective, I want to flip and use it for my website creation process, okay? So this is the backend, backend.bravebrand.com, okay? Now, this is protected by a login before you go try and hack me. But essentially, this is where I manage all of my content. We used to have like a content calendar inside of Notion that acted as the source of truth. But I was just like, why are we even using Notion if we can just create our own one that is then connected to our site? All right, so we've got all of our content ideas here, and I'll show you how to populate this for yourself later. But technically speaking, what I need to do is just go like this into approved. All right, and then I'll click right now. AI is writing. This is calling our own API. It's calling Claude Sonnet 4.6. So the quality of writing is fantastic. Because we're on fully autonomous mode, it's going to, once it's finished writing, publish this automatically to our site. Now, the cool thing about this is we have an option here which you can switch to safe mode, which will ultimately take the writing blogs and put them into draft so you can preview them. All right, and so the preview is also pretty cool. Like you can go in, see how the article has been written. You can see all of the links, etc., etc. You can check out the metadata as well, and you can make edits. All right, so you can make direct human in the loop edits if you want. I did that because a client requested it, and again, if you're doing this for clients, it's great to ultimately, give them that control if they want it. Now, you just hit publish there, and that will automatically update on the front end of our site, which is pretty cool. So full control from a CMS standpoint. And, having used multiple CMSs in my life and my career, we just wanted to have something that felt really simplistic to ultimately give you guys, full control over what you're doing. Now, I'm going to be giving you guys the full source code for this. We're open sourcing this entire thing, all right? Because this is the first step towards digital sovereignty. I really believe that platforms like Go High Level, Webflow, all of these things, while they have been great legacy brands, thank you guys, I appreciate your service. But the future is in you building these for yourself and building these for your clients so they have full control. And you can ultimately offer or even add this to something that you're charging for as part of the service. But if you think about GHL for a moment, yes, it's powerful. Yes, it has cool stuff. But anytime I send a client there, they absolutely crap themselves. Okay, so you can see now that we've got, these things planned. We're going to be introducing the ability to create leads, manage your leads, send emails via resend, view statistics on how many people are clicking and reading your blogs and articles, managing the different agents, and also seeing how your knowledge graph is showing up on the internet over time. Okay, so let's check back in once this article is written, and we'll check it out on the front end. So you can see our article has finished working. Okay, so we've got 10 things to automate in your coaching business this week. So we can now go edit it, or we can just view it. But because we were on autonomous mode, that published automatically, right? So let's go and view, all right? And you'll see here that our article is live, all right? So it's a semantically rich and dense article which has some terrific stuff, all baked in from our own brand corpus, our ideas, et cetera, right? So you can see here that the titles are also written in questions, which is really important for GEO. You can also see here we've got interlinking hyperlinks between our articles, which is amazing. We've got FAQs, and then we've got our call to action right at the bottom, all right? So that is now working really nicely, and that's basically how it all works from here. Now, I can hear you asking, Luke, well, how the hell do I do this for myself? Well, that is exactly what I'm going to show you right now. So now I've shown you what it looks like. Now I'm going to show you how to create it. Now, this is kind of like a new way of doing tutorials, all right? I thought long and hard about how I'm going to actually show you guys how to do this because I spent hours and hours troubleshooting and building this out. I was like, how the hell am I going to retrace my steps? And then I remembered this beautiful thing called a Claude.md file. A Claude.md file, for those of you that don't know, is basically a set of instructions that you can give to AI that will help you build a specific project. It'll also help any chat that you have understand what the outcome is that we're working towards. So I thought to myself, hang on a sec, what if I just gave you guys the Claude.md file? All right, that means AI can just help you build this yourself. And the tutorial is actually the Claude.md file. And I've taken it a little step further in actually giving you guys the actual code base on GitHub, which is public, that you can take and you can give this to your AI and it will help guide you step by step on how to set up your front end, your back end, and your Supabase so that you can tap into digital sovereignty and you can say bye-bye to all external platforms and lock-in, all right? Because this is what we're working towards in 2026, fully autonomous, digital, sovereign platforms that you own, my friend, all right? So I'll have this in the description of the video. But what you're going to do is you're just going to take this link, you're going to give it to Claude Code, and you're going to say, help me set this project up. All of the instructions are inside here. Claude will know exactly what to do. All you will have to then do is go in and plug in your specific API credentials, create a Supabase account. And once that's done, you're going to have your own database. Now, provided, yes, there are some technical things that need to happen when it comes to Supabase, like adding SQL tables. But if you're a little bit confused of what to do, just go into the digital home starter, okay? You don't have to even read this stuff anymore, guys. You just go like this, copy, paste, Claude Code, create your project file, and just say, hey, Claude, please help me get this project set up. Okay, and you drop in your digital home starter repo, and guys, it's going to do it for you. Hey, come on. Okay, all you really have to do is follow the instructions that Claude is going to give you. Once that's done, you're going to have the same infrastructure that I just showed you. You can take this, you can apply it to your own clients or whatever you want. Okay, so you can see here, project is set up. Here's what's done. So it's cloned the repo, it's installed the dependencies, it's created a bunch of templates, it's copied the content corpus from the example files. So the content corpus is already an example there. But the first step it'll ask you to do is set up your Supabase account, which you need to go out and do. You need to then follow the instructions here that it's asking you to do. Now, what you need to ask AI, okay, just say, for any of these things, please break it down for me super simply. It will take you through step by step on exactly what you need to do. All right. Once you've gone through that, you set up Supabase, you set up the infrastructure. We're going to start a new chat. And in the same folder, we're just going to go ahead and copy the second repo, which is the digital home backend starter. And we're going to say, can you help me get this project set up? Okay, and that way Claude Code is going to cleanly set up two projects so we're not swapping and mixing between the two, because sometimes context can be lost when we're setting up both of those repos in one thing. The thing that connects these two repos together is the shared Supabase database, and that's why we do the digital home starter first, and then we open a new chat and set up the digital home backend second. Now, once you have set this up, all right, you've gotten phase one done, locked and loaded. You're then going to need to fill in your content corpus. Now, the reason this is able to create such great content based on my own brand voice and my own knowledge is because we have trained it and we've given it and we've done the work up front to give it all of our brand context. So inside of Supabase, okay, which connects both our front end and our back end together, we have a bunch of these tables. Now, don't get freaked out by this because to be perfectly honest, I don't really even know what a lot of this means. But we have inside of here, our brand context is basically everything that our articles pull from whenever a new article is created. All right, so I'm just going to show you what that looks like from a project standpoint. Okay, so we've got our digital home project over here. And you can see we've got our content corpus, we've got our frameworks, our positioning, what is the competitive landscape, you know, what is our core positioning for the brand, what are our different offers, you know, all of our different case studies, testimonials, our SEO optimization, keyword clusters. We've got our tone of voice. We've got banned phrases that we never should say. We've got all of our hooks, tone examples, voice guide, blah, blah, blah. All right. So that is really what makes your digital home magic. And that is what you need to put effort into before you can actually start building this. Okay. So in regards to how you do that, we've basically created this Notion template, which will help you get this information set up. So you'll see here that this is the Brand 2.0 brand positioning, brand voice, and content corpus. Okay. So what I do is we take the intelligence app output. And if you haven't seen the intelligence app, this is a tool that everyone gets inside of our school community for $7. All right. So you can go into it, get your brand intelligence information. It'll do a bunch of research on your target audience. And then you'll take that and you'll drop the output, which is in JSON format, into here. You'll then list out your different offers for your brand or your client's brand. You'll pop in the YouTube channels. You'll pop in social media captions, any emails that you've written, or great long form pieces of content that really emulate your tone of voice well. So as an example, this is one that I filled out, okay, for our digital home. So you can see I've got all of my great information, my positioning, that the intelligence app helped me fill out. I've got my products, my services, my YouTube channel, and my captions and everything laid out there, okay? So what I then do is I just go export and then save it as a markdown file, and then that is good to go. Okay, so that is step one of how to set this up. The next step on how to set this up is ultimately taking this information and getting Claude Code to actually create these different folders inside of your project, okay? So we've created another specific skill, a Claude Code skill that you can use to turn all of that information I just showed you on that Notion page into a specific content corpus that will live inside of your own project. So it is going to create for you a voice guide, core positioning, what your offers are, what your testimonials are. And that is basically going to use the Notion thing that we gave to you as well. Okay. So that is the first skill that you need to use. And you need to take this skill and upload it to Claude Code itself. And then we've also got our content strategy skill, which is the second skill that we run after that is done. Now, these skills and this intake form, plus the audience intelligence app, you can get access to that inside of our school communities. And then we can actually start building. Okay. All right. So you can see here the content corpus skill, the content strategy skill. You need to give the content corpus skill to your Claude Code project where you have just installed those GitHub repos. And you need to do that once you've got the architecture set up. You've got your Supabase locked and loaded. You've got your API keys loaded. You're then going to give it the content corpus skill to install itself. Then you're going to feed it with your Notion markdown.md file. And then after that, you're going to upload your content strategy skill. Please help me run the content corpus skill. Okay, so you can see I've just given it my content corpus skill and it says I'm ready to help you generate the content corpus. This will create 4 structured files that will power everything downstream. So now what I'm going to do is just take the MD file, all right, and we're just going to drag that and drop it over there. Okay, so that's our brand positioning information. It's our target audience research. It's all of that good stuff. Okay, so you can see now that it's going to read all of that data and start creating the brains behind this whole operation. So let's check in once that is finished generating. All right, guys, so that is pretty much done. So now we can check out our core positioning and you can see that this has been populated. Our offers section has been populated. We've got our competitive landscape created and populated for us, okay? The only thing that hasn't been done is case studies and testimonials, in which case you can just now drop them and copy and paste them directly into the chat now. All right, so that is how the content corpus skill works and why it is so important. All right, so what we're going to be doing now is dropping in our content strategy skill. All right, and the content strategy skill needs to only be published and updated once you have the backend connected to Claude Code. That is very important because this content strategy skill is going to write the actual content directly into your backend, okay? So I'm just going to say now, based on the content corpus that we have, please execute the content strategy now, all right? And so the way I want you to think of these right now is that these skills are things that just give Claude superpowers. All right, so it will automatically pull from all of the information we've just created with the previous skill, and it will build on top of it, and it will build out your content strategy for your brand, okay? Now, what I want you to understand is that when you are in Claude Code right now, just follow these steps. If you want to push it a little bit more advanced, then you can actually start to say, like, for example, if your brand is a little bit counterintuitive and you think that some of these content ideas are a little bit safe, this is where you step in and you tell it. right? So if you have like a very specific methodology, that's where you're going to want to add that unique touch in, because, I had a fitness client who went through this process, but, the fitness client's brand was all around a very counterintuitive message. That means when his articles were being published, they were actually countering again, his actual brand's methodology. So what I got him to do was basically transcribe a full video of him teaching his actual process. And I told him to give it to AI to work that into the content strategy, and the results were fantastic. So just remember, you can integrate, add as much source to this process as you ultimately want. Okay, so what it's going to do now is it's going to go through a few more layers and a few more steps to build out a series of content topics and content clusters that will then form the basis of how our site is going to be showing up on the internet. Because when it comes to LLM discovery, topic clusters and semantically dense clusters of words that are familiar and in the same sort of wheelhouse as the stuff that your clients are searching for on AI means that your content is going to be more likely to be ranked on the internet. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but I recommend you listen to the podcast of NVIDIA's founder, Jensen, on Joe Rogan. He specifically talks about how AI searches for different clusters of information on the internet. Okay, so that'll give you a bit of information on how this works. So that has now prioritized all of the content. Now we're just going to press continue. All right, so you can see that it has now created topic clusters. Okay, and now finally we've got our pillars and subtopics. Okay. So this is going to be our interlinking strategy. So for example, different articles underneath a pillar are going to link to other articles on our website. All right. And so now the final step is I'll export your strategy to the content calendar. All right. So this is going directly onto your database inside of Supabase. Now you'll see here that I haven't actually added my credentials yet. And I haven't actually set up a new database. I'm not going to show you how to do that because all of this is already set up on my machine. But again, once you get to this process, this is going to export everything onto the back end, and you should start seeing them populate here into planned. All right, so that's all connected up. Again, if you have any questions, ask your AI. It will guide you through it. All right, my friends, so I hope you enjoyed that video. Comment below if you want to get access to part 3. Let me know if it is something you want to focus on. Maybe you have a different priority. I will go where you guys want me to. All right. But this is us building towards digital sovereignty. We're open sourcing this whole thing. We're making this available to everyone because now, hey guys, we can just vibe code and create our own platforms for ourselves and our clients. What a time to be alive. And one more thing, I will do my best to answer all of your questions inside of the comments, but also if you want priority support, if you want help troubleshooting and setting up the best digital home you possibly can, hit me up in school. We prioritize those on a daily basis. All right, my friend, peace out.